on to the Smart Property Investment Show with your host, Phil Tarrant.
All right, everyone. Welcome to the Smart Property Investment Show. It's Phil Tarrant here, your host. Appreciate you joining us as we go on the path exploring investor stories, how people are looking to create wealth through property. In the studio today, I have Geoff. Geoff's joining us. He's works in the government. He's a copper, and he's got a pretty impressive story about how 10 years of hard work, hard slog, working it's not really a 9-to-5 job, it's a whenever he's needed job. He's been able to create a pretty good portfolio of about 8 properties. Geoff, how you going, mate?
Good, Phil. Good, thank you.
Thanks for coming in.
No worries, no worries.
So you listen to the Smart Property Investment Show. It's good to hear that you're a regular listener. What do you get out of it? Like when you listen to it, you just go, oh yeah, that's cool.
To be honest, I actually I ride my bike a bit to and from work.
Okay.
And
push bike?
Push bike, sorry. Yeah. And I've gone from listening to music to I listen to podcasts, and I'd come across a few of the other podcasts on the phone there, and but yeah, I obviously get a lot out of it, and I like hearing other people's stories too. So, which before was when it was in the magazines, I liked reading those stories.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a good way of filling in the time.
Well, it's nice to think that you're there pedaling through peak hour traffic at work, and
I try and avoid the traffic. Yeah, too many risks there. So yeah.
Well, what do you reckon about and we'll have a bit of a chat today. Just I want to find out about your portfolio and your story and stuff. But when you listen to other investors' stories, do you sort of sit there and go, oh, shit, maybe I should do that, or I think that's bullshit, or wow, this guy's way ahead of the game and I should be trying to catch up? How do you use it as a frame of reference?
Sometimes there's good things, and other times I think, I probably wouldn't do that. I like to always really zone in on the guys that I hear, like the fella a couple of weeks ago, he was earning like 300 grand positive cash flow. He had like 28 properties. I can't remember his name now, but I think, I like his story, I like hearing those stories, and then you hear other guys with, other people with a lot more capital growth side of things, but I just like hearing their stories, and like you said, definitely there's some good and some bad.
Yeah. There is some good, some bad, and I guess it's the best way to learn, right, is to hear how other people, particularly the stuff they've done bad, right, because you want to try and avoid those things when you're investing in property.
In saying that too, the best learning I found is actually getting in there and doing it, and it's you can listen to the stories and think, I wouldn't do that. But you can also go and buy something and say, or look at areas and say, I should have done this, or should have done that, or could have done this better. It's that's probably the best experience, I think. Yeah,
it's good. So let's have a chat about your story, Geoff. Yep. So working at Cops, commendable job. I like it. You guys do brilliant stuff for us, and like most coppers I know, you earn a pretty reasonable income, right? You're not a big executive in a bank raking in millions of dollars a year, but it's a good hard-earned crust. But you've been investing in property for 10 years. So why have you decided to sort of build this property investment portfolio alongside sort of your job?
I guess it never really started off that I thought, I'll start doing it that way. It sort of came about. It was more so you sort of fall into it, I guess. And along the way, as I've noticed it, bought a couple of properties and had a bit of growth in it, then all of a sudden it's I can see, geez, there's something in this. It's essentially you can get more growth out of something just from taking care of it a few hours a week, as opposed to earning that 40 hours a week doing the hard slog. And obviously, so I saw that as an opportunity that was, we can obviously set ourselves up, set my family up for the future, and not have to be a slave to the wage,
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, it's the way it is now. People will be working to their 80, and it's I'm not doing that.
You don't want to be doing that.
No.
So what's the goal then? So you said you want to set the family up, and that, imagine being a generational asset that hopefully you can pass down to your kids and stuff and sort them out. But sort of a lifestyle experience for yourself and your wife sort of in the future. You don't want to work till you're 80. So have you got a goal? Have you got it written down somewhere? Or is it just in the back of your brain?
I wouldn't say there's any defined goal, because I hear a lot of people that say, you need to have a plan, you need to do X, Y, and Z. Well, the thing is that things are always changing. 2 years ago, I didn't even know what APRA was. I know what it is now. It's so, and that stopped. Before that, I was like, I'm going to get 25 properties. Well, all of a sudden now, no, we can't do that. So, it's a matter of changing things around. But I guess in terms of a goal, it's just more so building wealth. That is the goal itself. And I don't think you could ever say, I'll get to a point and go, yep, all right, we're here, we made it. It's all happy days. It's I think it's more about the journey, to be honest. I think that's probably the like you sort of, that's what makes it fun, So I couldn't say there's definitely like, I need $2 million for $100,000 a year cash flow. Like obviously that's good, but if we don't get to that exactly, well, at least we've tried. Yeah, so I'd have to say that's probably, there's no definite thing.
And that's cool. Like a lot of people are really quite clinical with their goal setting. It'll be by this point I'll have this and X, Y, Z. I don't mind the goal being, I'm going to create wealth, right?
Yep.
To be fair, I'm a bit the same as well. I know that if I do this right now, that will probably sort itself out.
Yep.
So that resonates with me.
Yeah.
Whereas other people will be very different, going, no, you need to know exactly how much money you want and need at retirement. You need to work back through it, which is cool. Do that and stuff. But
the only thing I would say that when you're buying or when you're investing is when you're looking at the numbers, because it all comes down to the numbers that this is going to give me this amount of rent. This is what the loan's going to cost me, and this is what it's going to happen if interest rates go up by 1%, 2%. So that's what we do know.
Yeah. So
right?
you've done all those numbers, those sums. You're confident with how you sit. Should that happen?
Basically, yeah. So, but early on, I hadn't, and I didn't really know. I wasn't really, as I said, that's what I said. Until you're actually doing it yourself, and you're buying things, and you're watching the loans come in and the rents come in, and until you're doing that, you don't really know. So I've obviously cleaned it up a bit more as we've gone along, because all of a sudden we've got extra debt now, and we need to look at, that's where we've then started targeting properties that had a bit extra cash flow. Yeah, so that's the definite part. But in terms of capital growth and that, no one can really know exactly. No one can really predict, this is going to do, and no one can do that. Like you can't know that. But what you can know is what the cash flow is. So that's
something you can control, right?
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
And so you invest with your wife. So who's out of you guys? Who's the numbers person? Who's the driver and the energy person, or is it sort of everyone's got their own bent?
Well, my wife works in insurance, and I would say she's the king of the Excel spreadsheet.
There you go.
So she takes care of those sorts of things, but I'm definitely I'm like the strategist, I'll say, we'll do this, and then she's like she works in compliance and insurance. So if it goes through to her and it doesn't get through, it won't get through. So
it's good teamwork then, right? Everyone brings different skills in and
that's right.
Get it done. So are you out there looking at properties? I guess the question is, are you buying at the moment, or are you sitting on the portfolio?
Not at the moment. So essentially, with my wife being on maternity leave, we just had a baby last year, so we're sort of held up. But that's also due to APRA as well. In saying that, though, like we rent. Like funny enough, there's actually more of an opportunity for us to be able to buy our own PPOR. Yeah, I'm not talking anything like, we'd have to look outside sort of Central Coast of Wollongong. Yeah. But there's almost more of an opportunity there in terms of lending, because that obviously with the APRA guidelines. So, but in saying that, I'm always looking at the markets. I'm always like the markets that we're in and potential other ones. I don't like looking at areas that I thought would be a good idea a couple of years ago. Like there's one in up in Central Coast, San Remo, right? And I was looking there. I was looking at houses of like 230, 240 grand. They're up there around 400 now. And I had the opportunity there, but I didn't. But so what I'm saying is, I look at that and I'm like, you get a bit of a chill up the spine, Yeah,
mate. The one that gets away isn't too bad, right? It's you do it too often, and
that's right.
So just for our listeners, Jeff's referring to APRA. What he's making acknowledgement of is APRA's, probably a couple of years ago now, put in some requirements to lenders to slow down the level of lending to property investors and look at and change the way in which they look at the serviceability of property investors. So rather than 3.5%, 4% serviceability, they're looking at servicing loans at 7-ish plus %, just to making sure that there's plenty of fat in people's ability to borrow money, and also to try and take some of the heat out of the market and slow down price growth. So what you're saying there, Geoff, is that it's a little bit more difficult now to get finance because you hit a bit of a serviceability threshold. Yeah. And look, to be honest, it's probably not the worst thing. I could probably say on a couple of properties that the interest rates have gone up on with specific banks. It's sort of think those areas you think, well, they haven't really done that much anyway. It's sort of, but
like it is what it is. You just got to, as I was saying, like you got to run with what play the cards you dealt. But yeah, it's definitely slowed up, as I said, which I think is a good thing.
It's okay to sit back and take a breath, right? And these requirements aren't always going to be there. On behalf of APRA. And interesting, I went on. I don't know if you watch it. Your Money, Your Call on Sky TV.
Yeah,
and I was there.
It just finished, right?
Last night. Yeah, I was on the show last night, and I sort of had to go, and I can't remember. I was talking about like 10 years, changing 10 years. And I remember going back and I looked at the RBA cash rate back in 2008. So 10 years ago when you started investing, right?
Yep.
In February 2008, it was 7%, the RBA cash rate. Then it went up to 7.25% in March, held there all the way.
Yep.
And then by the end of the year, it was back down to 4%, right? Obviously, the global financial crisis. So when you started investing in property, you're paying like 7+% interest rates.
I was paying 9.25%. Now, when I started investing, I actually lived in that place for 18 months.
Okay.
That was a unit in North Parramatta. But basically it was, we got in with the first homeowners grant. Now I got 100% finance, right? So when you think, 100% finance and the first homeowners grant, in the end, for me to get into that property, it cost me $200.
In cash?
In cash.
Okay.
Right? As unbelievable as that
100%
sounds.
finance.
100% finance.
And no stamp duty, right? Back then. Do they have the exceptions then?
I don't think, to be honest, I can't remember, but I know that when it was broken down, I paid $200. That was obviously with the first homeowners grant. But however, so the interest rate was 9.25%. And it's funny because I'd only been in the cops for 4 years then. Anyway, my loan per week was like $450, right? And I only had like $250 left for the rest of the week. So I remember, going to the service station and I can put $20 in the car, like fuel, and I didn't go out for like 3 months. I didn't buy any new clothes for like nearly 2 years, but that's the sacrifice you have to make. But so that was 9.25%, and I remember so that was in July. I actually remember July 4, 2008. That's when I bought it. And then the GFC came, so that was September, I think, not long after. And I didn't know what the GFC was. I didn't know anything about it.
Anyone knew what it was.
No. And I never forget. From that point, obviously the interest rates came down, and I was with St. George Bank, and they
you didn't sort of lock your rate. It was a fixed rate, or was it?
It was no, it was a variable.
Okay,
it was a variable. But even then, I didn't really know. I didn't understand variable rates and lock. I didn't. Yeah. So, but I just remember every month there'd be a new letter from St. George saying, "Oh, your interest rate has now gone down." So I used to put it up on the fridge, like, yes, that there you go. There's another one. Yep, there's another one. I remember the fridge was too heavy for the magnet. It kept falling down. So anyway, so that's where it is. So it sounds all good. 100% finance. But then I was getting smashed week by week, and it wasn't it had an old bathroom, the place didn't smell that nice on a main road, like blah 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 blah. But I mean that's been essentially if you feel through a little bit of luck too, that's been the cornerstone, the one that's given me the.
Well, if you got a North Para 10 years ago, you've done pretty well out of that. I imagine.
Yeah, well, essentially it's doubled and then some, maybe a little bit. So I bought that for $226,000, and it originally got valued at $520,000. Through a bank vow, but essentially I've squeezed all the milk out of that one, so to speak.
How many times you refinanced it to keep going?
To be honest, there's at least 2 or 3.
Okay.
Yeah, most
10 years. Yeah.
The most recent was end of last year where we bought two more. Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's have a chat about this portfolio. So, first property, Parramatta.
Yep.
Which for our listeners outside of Sydney is smack bang in the middle of Sydney, really. It's a hub. It's a growing CBD in its own right. Probably about 30 k's from Sydney CBD.
20.
Lots of units, North Parramatta Way, red brick type stuff, circa 1960s, 70s type build. So, did you just go, I'm going to buy a property, I need somewhere to live, or what got you into the first place?
To be honest, I can't really remember, but I remember at the time, I think one of my mates, sorry, that's right. So, a mate of mine who used to work with, his name's Mac, he probably listens to the show, but real nice guy, and I was working with him at the time, and he was talking about like Mount Druitt and that, right? And because we in our work in the police, we drive around these areas, and we drive around, he'd say, mate, you have to buy a house, like the prices aren't going down. And this is back when units were like 150 grand. Yeah. And I was like, and I thought, well, I don't really want to live in Mount Druitt. Like, I didn't want to live there. I thought, well, I could probably live in North Parramatta. Now, the funny thing is, so I grew up in North Mead, which is just up the road. And you know how people say, you shouldn't invest, most people go and invest around. Well, for me, it actually, it actually worked out all right, you know, because it obviously gone up value, 3 or 4 years after that. But so I started looking around, and basically, you know, I didn't know anything about sort of negotiation or looking for what the actual value was rather than what the real estate. You know, I remember I was at work, and so I'd gone to see it. I was at work about a week later, and it was on there for 239. I remember 239,000, and the real estate says, "Oh, mate, are you still interested in this one?" And I said, "Oh, yeah." He goes, "Well, did you want to put an offer in?" I was like, "Oh, yeah." And now I'm in the middle of a line search, we call it. We're searching this park. I said, "Oh, yeah, 220 grand." And then he goes, "Oh," and then anyway, so we ended up getting to 226. So that's how it. But essentially, that's how it started. So,
and so you lived there for a while, obviously.
Lived there for 18 months.
Okay. Well, you need to live there for 6 months anyway to qualify for the grant and all this sort of stuff.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. But I mean, I had every intention of staying there for the long term. But then I sort of I'll never forget. Yeah, I was in the shower there, and sometimes you do your best thinking in the shower. And I was in the shower there, and I thought to myself, if I was to move out and go and rent somewhere, and then get someone in to rent this, I thought it was going to cost me like $30 a week. You know, I thought I could probably do that. You know, and then I thought, it dawned on me. I'm standing there in the shower. I thought, imagine if I had 10 of these. You know, like, and obviously, and they go up in value and all the rest of it. So that's sort of how it all started. From there. Yeah.
So 18 months in the first property in North Parramatta, your principal place of residence.
Yep.
And then so talk me about that. The next move, did you refinance that property or use cash to get into the next one?
Yeah. So we refinanced that one. I bought the second one, which was at Blacktown, which is another unit at Blacktown. Yep. And it was funny because I remember at the time I spoke to a few people and they said, "Oh, Blacktown." Oh, like people laughed at that. You know, "Oh, make sure you get your insurance for your renters and all that." And I thought to myself, because at the time I was actually living at Seven Hills, right? And I thought to myself, it's not that bad. Like obviously Seven Hills is just up the road from Blacktown.
Oh, I grew up in Sevo.
Oh yeah. Oh, there you go.
Boy.
Yeah. Well, there you go. And I thought, geez, it's not that bad. You know, look, it's okay. So lo and behold, so that was 4 years later that from when I first bought the North Para, and that was 2012, and I've had a tenant in there from the same tenant from the day I bought it. So
have you pushed the rent up much on it over that time?
A little bit, only about $10 a year. Well, it ends up averaging $12 a year. So from the time I bought it, so it's good. Like it's, you know, the tenant there, like she's a nurse at the hospital, Blacktown Hospital, and it's good.
Whereabouts in Blacktown? Is it like
it's near the station? It's in Boyd Street.
Okay.
Which is across the road from the pool and yeah. So
I spent a summer working as a lifeguard at Blacktown Pool.
Oh, did you? Yeah.
20-something years ago. So,
It's not a bad gym there actually.
It's all right now. It wasn't all right back then.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So Blacktown, where after that?
So that was 2012, 2013. Sorry, had a really bad back injury. I was off work for about 6 months, and people would tell me, "Oh, you know, you should try and study to go up the ranks in the cops." And I was like, "Oh, yeah." I thought, no, I know. I want to study this real estate game, and I want to learn about it. So essentially, all I had was the magazines. So we didn't obviously no podcasts. It was the magazines and Margaret Lamos to show your money, your call. So I basically For 6 months, that's all I did every day. I was just reading the magazines, watching the shows, and I really sort of got educated, I guess, in a sense, in that. But more so that it was looking outside of, you know, everywhere, and looking back because then obviously I'd look into different areas and where obviously historically what places have done, but and then because obviously she talked about Logan and all that sort of stuff, and I thought, oh, okay, and so I looked up on the you know, realestate.com and all that. So the first thing I come up is Logan Central. I was like, oh, I looked at like the prices of the rents and what you're paying. I thought, and then it's funny because you know how you chuck them in a computer or in your phone now, you know. But I at home I had like all my bits of paper and all written down all the amounts. This is what it cost me. It was actually fun. I found him the other day. I was going through some old paperwork and I got all these old like just pages and pages of figures and you know, which is quite ironic because I was terrible at maths in school and now
when it matters,
that's right. So anyway, so then so I looked at that. I thought, oh, okay. So then I looked up in Logan and we actually bought one in Kingston. It was a house in Kingston.
Yep.
And it's kind of like because you know what you hear now is people saying, oh, you know, buy one in Logan, blah blah blah. But it's sort of you know, in terms of a capital growth, it's done okay for they've done pretty good for as a percentage, but whether or not it's sort of been overheated by investors, I don't know. It's just sort of, but that's time. You just got to wait those things out. But basically, so we bought that one and another one at Logan Central and another one at Woodridge. So they're relatively close together, but I guess the things with in terms of train lines and block size, it's sort of it kind of works itself out.
So were they houses?
They're houses, yeah.
Houses.
Yep.
It's really funny. I've got a house in Kingston, a house in Logan, a house in Woodridge as well.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
Spot on,
Maybe they're next door to each other. We could do some
knock
development
it down.
Yeah.
Okay, so after Woodridge, so that was property 5.
Yep.
So you've held on to all these?
Held on to all of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
So after Woodridge, where'd you go after that?
Well, it's funny. So after all that education and all that sort of stuff, and knowing what you shouldn't do. It's quite funny. This is not even joking. I was watching A Current Affair, right, one night, and they were talking about these places, areas in the Gold Coast where the rents were like, it was so hard to get rent. It was too hard to rent places. I was like, oh, okay. I thought, because it reminded me like of Blacktown in 2012. It was hard to rent, and then obviously that was driving the prices of the rent, but also showed that there was a low amount of supply to buy as well. Anyway, so it showed up. I paused it on the TV because had the real estate was at Highland Park. I was like, oh, Highland Park. So I started looking around there. I remember Margaret actually said Margaret Lamo said one of the areas was Highland Park. I thought, oh, okay. I ended up looking at areas there, which was Nerang, which is obviously one of the suburbs of the Gold Coast. And at the time, I didn't have enough to buy an actual house, but we bought a 3-bedroom townhouse there, which was in a block of 11, which I thought was pretty good because they've got some pretty big complexes up there, 20, 30,
huge.
40. And this one was in a block of 11, but there was no pool, no tennis courts or any of that sort of stuff. So the reason I say it's funny is that the whole, like watching all that education, essentially buying this place after watching A Current Affair of all things. But that's been pretty good. Like we bought that for $280, and essentially we had just going off a vow from a couple of real estate agents that he's sort of saying we're confident we'd be able to get rid of it for 360, 370, and the one next door, like the one in the complex, a year ago sold for 360. Okay. So I thought to myself, well, that's not too bad, in terms of like capital growth.
Percentage growth, yeah.
Yeah, but it's also doesn't cost. It's actually now making us $25-$30 a week cash flow.
Okay.
So look, at the end of the day, people always sort of and ah about the Gold Coast, and I guess it depends on what you're buying too, because I would never buy in a high-rise unit complex there. Like that's just ludicrous. But look, at the end of the day, it's a family area where we are. It's it suits a family. It's and so far so good. So
if you're getting a Gold Coast at the right time, it's boom and bust type town.
That's right. That's right.
It's either going off or it's in the slump.
Yep.
So you ride it out over time. You're probably not going to go too bad. So after Nerang, then what sort of after
so after that, then I'd had a bit of a break for a while, and then I got in touch with a buyer's agent that I'd used before in Logan. Okay. He showed me, and I'd never even heard of the area. It was once again in Logan. It's called Baronia Heights. Yep. I'd never heard of it. I was like, oh yeah. So he showed me this house and this place, like Dad said, it was. He showed me the photos, and like it was a big block, like 770 square block. The grass out the back was like 1.5 meters high, and the buyer's agent said he went in there and he went in and there was an older guy that lived there, and he walked in and there was he'd been smoking bongs on the bench. And the buyer's agent, he's going, oh mate, what? They showed me the photos, and so it was essentially a 3-bedroom house. But it just needed, literally just needed...
you see beyond the unkept...
Yeah.
Yeah,
100%.
Sometimes the best stuff, right? Poorly marketed properties are gold mine for investors.
Yeah, well, this one wasn't on realestate.com or anything because they couldn't afford to market it on there.
Okay.
That's what I was told. But and it was on a real estate agents that I've never even heard of, just on their own website. And so I knew that we'd be able to sort of come in pretty low because I know no one would be sniffing around for it. But anyway, in the end, we cleaned up. We spent about $15,000. We cleaned up the backyard. We had to get there was an old car in the backyard, and cleaned it up, and we put like carpet paint, blinds, and all that, and air conditioning. I thought you can't be in Brisbane without air conditioning. Anyway, so that was so we ended up picking up for $275, And I mean, the median for houses in Baroni Heights is 350. So I thought to myself, that's not too bad, but essentially we're in for 290, say, maybe
a little bit more,
maybe about 300, obviously, when you count your stamp duty and all the rest of it. So I thought, well, that's not too bad. Anyway, where it gets good is basically, so we'd settle the property. Literally a week later, I was actually at a lunch on the Cairns, and like a sportsman's lunch, and I was about 4 or 5 in. I was halfway there.
Yeah.
And the same buyer's agent rings me. He goes, "Man, you're not going to believe this." And I couldn't even hear him. He goes, "Man, you're not going to believe it. Next door's come up for sale as well." I was like, "Oh, okay, righto." And then I was like, "Oh, don't worry about it." Anyway, so I next day I woke from my slumber and I started to have a better look. And basically, next door was the same block size, which was 770 square. I thought, oh, okay. So I thought, well, and because I knew that the price is relatively low, so I knew someone was going to come in. So I thought, okay, well, I'll try and get onto it. So I made some phone calls, spoke to the council, and the local council. They're actually really good in terms of the town planners. Like you ring them and they ring you back within an hour, sort of thing. And so he rings back and said, I said, look, basically, what can I do with this? And basically they said I could, if I wanted to, down the track. So basically the blocks would be combined into 1538 square, which would enable me to be able to split it, say, up the back. So split the block, 600 square block with a driveway down the side or something, whatever. Yeah. And then put like a 4-bedroom house or even like one of those dual key things or something. But anyway, I thought, do you know what? Like at the end of the day, whether I do this in 2 years or 5 or 10 years or whatever, if that opportunity is still there, I thought you can't really pass that up. So, just sort of, and if I hadn't used the buyer's agent as well, I would never have known. I wouldn't have even looked at it. Yeah. So
anyway, you got it. Yeah.
So I got it. Yeah. So
what'd you pay for it?
For the second one, we paid $315. Now, here's the thing: they actually had offers over $305, and I never in my life have I ever come in and offered more than what they were asking. Yeah. But for me, it was what was the opportunity? The opportunity was that it's, you got this larger block. I thought, well, like...
You might pay 10 overs this time, but, the upside in 10 years' time, if you choose to stick it together, or 5 years' time, and
that's right.
The value in something isn't always the price, right?
That's right.
If you can think about upside benefits and stuff, a lot of investors get caught up and think, no, I'm not going to pay that extra 10 grand, but then you miss out on opportunities. So
100%.
That makes sense to me. Like it sounds like a smart move.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, it's as I said, things could change, zoning could change. I mean, we may not be able to do it in 5 years. I don't know, but look, at least it's an opportunity. And for the time being, I mean, both those properties are neutrally geared anyway.
Okay. So as standalone assets, they're good anyway.
That's right.
The portfolio.
That's right. Yeah.
So that's the last property you bought then. So,
sorry, and then we did have another one.
9.
So sorry, 8 in our own name, and then there's 9 that we established as self-managed super.
Okay.
And we bought it was a 2-bedroom townhouse in Coomera up in Gold Coast again. Look, that was more than anything. I almost forget about that one because I can't. Obviously there's different rules with self-managed super, and we can't really do anything to it. We can't pull any money out of it and all that sort of thing. But that become more of a cash flow thing to be able to hold its own in the super. So. So sorry,
the portfolio.
Yeah, so that was the last one. Yeah.
So outside of the property having your super, so those 8 investment properties which you're holding on, so a buy and hold strategy for our listeners.
Yep.
Have you funded it? Like, have you been chucking in savings, or has it always just been extracting cash out? It's
just been extracting cash. So you could almost say that 200 to get that portfolio it cost me $200.
Yeah.
At the start, So
it's not a bad way to look at it.
Yeah.
So your return on investment is excellent.
Oh well, yeah, it's almost infinity, isn't it?
It is.
It's but I'm not going to guarantee saying that. My return.
So outside of the property in your super, leave it alone. What's the sort of total value of your portfolio?
It's about 2.95.
2.95. So $3 million. And how much debt are you carrying on
it's about 2.1.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's a fair bit of equity in there.
Yeah, in saying that, it's being able to get access to the equity is another thing too. Yeah,
But that said, if you sit and wait a year or two, out of the game.
Yep.
Before your wife goes back to work or whatever happens there, or lending requirements change, you're only going to be in a better position at the end of it, right?
Yep.
And carrying an LVR of, what is that, 66%, I guess. It's a nice, reasonably comfortable place. Everyone's risk level appetite is different, but So what's the cash position on this? Is it positive or negative?
It's negative. So after all the tax and all that, it costs us about $5,000 a year.
Okay. So after tax.
After tax.
Okay.
So after with your depreciation and all that sort of stuff. So before tax, obviously a little bit more, but it's so for $100 a week, it's not. Yeah, that's pretty.
And how collectively how much is it going up in value every year? Do you think this combined portfolio?
Well, from what it's done, essentially it's probably around. I don't know the exact amounts as a percentage, but if I work it out as to what our equity is over the last 10 years, it works out. It's about 3% every year. So, which isn't, you're not going to. It's not the greatest. It's not the worst. It's sort of. Yeah. I see it as a bit. It's essentially around that $100,000 a year. Yeah. Which, as I was saying before, it's you work 40 hours a week for that. Like.
Yeah. Well, the thing is that if it's costing you $5,000 a year to hold an asset that's going up by $100,000 a year. Yeah.
Do your maths,
you can't complain about that, really.
That's right. That's right.
Obviously, there's a bit of risk and all this sort of stuff. But, you're in the fortunate thing is that, you're in a real steady, stable job, right? Whereas a lot of people might, if you work outside of government stuff, do a little bit different. And what's the worst thing go wrong, really?
That's right.
You got to sell it all, and But,
that's right. Yeah, but like even I see people like talk about risk in that. Like for me, it's riskier working 40 hours a week for the next 40 years. That's pretty risky. Like.
Getting the end of it and living on your superannuation, which probably ain't enough, right?
That's right. That's right. So it's like it's like anything. You always see, the market's going to crash or all these sorts of things. Well, like you said, if the worst that's going to happen, it's we sell everything and we don't lose any money. But if we don't do anything, we don't get anything anyway. So it's,
To be fair though, the place where you've purchased these assets there's always going to be a high demand for property in those areas. It's not like you're buying in places where it's in the middle of whoop and it's all relying on.
That's right.
On these are sort of mortgage belt suburbs where as we have a growing population and Brisbane and Sydney, pretty heavy in Queensland.
Yeah, and like obviously, like we could say, even it's like there's essentially five in Logan, right? But like the two at Barony Heights, they're like 15 k's from the other ones. Yeah. And when you think about it, 15 k's, well, that's the difference between Parramatta and Blacktown. Like and then you got two different markets, two different demographics and all the rest of it. So, but I mean, look, and I guess the only thing I'd say to that is, I probably could have looked in other areas, Melbourne, Adelaide. I was looking at Adelaide at one point, but I guess the advantage I had was that in Logan, I knew, I had a fair idea of what things were worth at the time, and I was confident with the cash flow with tenants and all that sort of stuff. So, it's sort of you sort of weigh everything up and I
invest in a lot of similar places like this, and essentially Logan. What you're doing in Logan is exactly what you would be doing. Like Logan is, I might get beaten up for this, but it's sort of the Blacktown of it's a Blacktown sort of. City of Brizzy, right? And the market dynamics are very similar. The people are very similar. The habits, the behaviours, the economic sort of drivers and factors are very, very similar. So you just do the same thing in a different market.
That's right. That's
still
right.
the same outcome.
But in saying that, it's funny because I almost had too much. Like we had too much growth early on with Parra and Blacktown, and then so we bought in Logan because I was looking at Mount Druitt at the time. We bought in Logan, and I remember at the time thinking it had been about a year. I'm thinking, where's this growth coming from? I thought like this was an easy game, It's probably the worst thing you can happen is to have a bit of success straight up, and then
it's like when people get on the punt and win a couple of horse races.
That's right.
They're invincible, right?
Yeah. And next thing you're chasing at 3 o'clock in the morning. But it's hindsight's a wonderful thing. If in saying that, I would probably bought another one in Western Sydney, Mount Druitt, even Penrith, around those sort of areas.
Back in 2013-14, you would have done well out there.
100%.
Penrith, Mount Druitt, St Mary's, those sort of points.
And that's the thing. It's and like I said, even that San Remo, that's the time when I was looking up around areas in the Central Coast, and but it is what it is. You can't go back now. It's
So what's next? You just wait and see.
Basically, we'll just hold on, just wait and see what it's like. I think we're a bit of uncharted territory in terms of with lending and all that sort of stuff. So looking at P&I, because I was always interest only loans, but now there's a difference between we've never had that much of a gap.
Well, it's quite a big gap, you know. Like I know you
Yep.
can get, you know, principal interest versus interest only. Like it's huge percentage plus point in,
Yep.
in difference, which is massive.
That's right. And as I said, like it's 2 years ago I would never even thought about looking at P&I loan, you know, but now it's become a reality. So it's, you know, we just got to, So I think we'll just ease up for a bit and we'll just hold off. And but in saying that, it's, you know, as you know, you've got to manage the portfolio too.
Yeah.
So that's a job in itself, really. And you know, I don't mind, you know, obviously looking at different options. You know, like, there's always things like I thought, you know, I was looking at granny flats and that, for example, and you know, so there's always something that can be done whilst it's there now. You don't always have to be buying.
Do you enjoy the management side of things? Do you enjoy sort of looking after the portfolio?
Yeah, I don't mind. I probably, it's good. I'm happily on the emails. But because I see the value in it, I don't. It's not a thing for.
It does feel like a job, right?
No.
Yeah.
I mean, and you know, I'm happily. I remember we were in America a couple of years ago, and I was emailing back to a builder who was putting in a kitchen in one of the places. You know, I was like, well, I'm meant to be on holidays, but I guess it's the old thing. If you find something you love, you're not working, eh? It's
mate, I completely agree.
So
that's good, mate. Geoff, it's you obviously enjoy doing it, and you know, to your point, you got to, if investing in property is a chore, you know, you find it a bind or a hassle, whatever, you probably shouldn't be doing it, right? You know?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
But you've got a plan, wealth creation, which is, I imagine, the reason why most of us invest in property, right? You know, do it just for the fun of it.
That's right.
You want to get something on the upside of it. But you know, good portfolio over time, which I think is going to perform quite well for you. And let's get you back in the studio when you buy next. And if just hypothetical, if you had a deposit, so similar assets to what you've been buying here, sort of price point, where would you buy right now?
As in location wise.
Location.
Look, to be honest, like Adelaide would be okay.
Yeah.
Areas in there. I think it's more so, for me, it would be more so what I'm buying in terms of the type of property, in terms of something that I could, you know, have the potential of doing something to it down the track. So if it was buying something that was, you know, corner blocks, which are large blocks, or I'd probably look at that, because for me it's almost like you're taking the capital growth of an area out of the picture, you know, and obviously there's risk factors involved in doing developments and all that sort of stuff. But I find if you're willing to put in the work for that, you're taking the capital growth out of it, so you can make money.
So you can manufacture the growth irrespective of what the market is doing. And
that's right.
That's not a bad strategy. When you get to a point in your portfolio, and it's not a small portfolio where you go, okay, I need some cash flow. What do I do? Chuck the granny flat, increase the yield. But you got to get the right assets to start with, like a corner block or something that you can, like these last two you've bought in Baronia Heights, where you know, gives you some sort of X factor to make it special in the point in time.
That's right. Yeah. So, but in saying that, there's just as much for buying in different areas that you know, the growth drivers are there that you can make money without doing anything. So that's So, but I mean, there's areas, as you know, like down in Melbourne, southeast areas in Melbourne. It's cash flow is a bit of an issue down there too.
Yeah.
That's the only thing, but. Yeah, and who knows what's going to happen with Perth? I don't know. Like,
who knows? You know, we've done some podcasts on it recently, and is it time yet to get in the market? Maybe. You know, it's not going to go anywhere fast. So
that's right.
Watch this space. But mate, enjoy you coming in, Geoff.
Yeah, no worries.
Thanks for that. Thanks for sharing. Just your story, mate. You know, which is an interesting one. 10 years in a game, and you got a good asset base, and making a few bucks, which is good, and importantly, enjoy doing it. So lots of things our listeners can learn from you. Remember to check out smartpropertyinvestment.com.au. If you're not subscribing to our morning market intelligence, everything around property, be the first to know what's going on. Smartpropertyinvestment.com.au/subscribe. If you'd like to get info on social media, just search Smart Property HQ. Check us down. Keep those reviews coming on iTunes. We do appreciate them. The team here loves them. They like to know that everything that's going on here is of value to everyone. Any questions, editor@smartpropertyinvestment.com.au. We'll be back again soon. Until then, bye-bye.
The information featured in this podcast is general in nature and does not take into consideration your financial situation or individual needs and should not be relied upon. Before making any investment, insurance, tax, property or financial planning decision, you should consult a licensed professional who can advise whether your decision is appropriate for you. Guests appearing on this podcast may have a commercial relationship with the companies mentioned.